She broke into the mafia boss's car during a Chicago blizzard, not to steal, not to run, but because dying in the street felt less terrifying than asking the world for help one more time. Have you ever been so cold, so forgotten, so cornered by life that the wrong door looked like salvation? Harper Lane had $3 frozen hands and a secret powerful men were willing to kill for. Outside, the city was buried under snow. Inside, that black SUV was warmth, leather, danger, and the beginning of a war she never meant to enter. This story is about survival, betrayal, power, and the dangerous kind of love that finds you when you have nothing left to lose. Stay until the end because one desperate choice will change an entire empire. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. The warmth that saved Harper Lane did not keep her safe for long. She woke with a violent gasp, as if her lungs had forgotten how to belong to her body. For one terrible second, she thought she was still in the alley, curled against a brick wall with snow packing itself around her like wet cement. Her fingers clawed at nothing. Her knees jerked toward her chest. Her throat burned around a sound that was not quite a scream. Then the world sharpened. No wind, no street, no snow grinding against her face. She was still on the floor of the black SUV, folded behind the driver's seat like something discarded. The engine was off. The cabin was warm, but it was a different kind of warmth now. Not the desperate heat of a running car on a frozen street. This air smelled of polished concrete motor oil, cedar leather, and money so old it did not need to announce itself. Harper opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was the floor mat beneath her cheek. Black, spotless, thick enough to swallow the melted snow from her boots. Her breath came hard. Her body had begun to thaw, and thawing hurt worse than freezing. Pain sparked through her fingers and toes. Her joints felt packed with glass. She pushed herself up with both hands. A groan slipped out of her before she could stop it. Beyond the tinted window, light spread across a vast underground garage. No, not a garage. A private bunker dressed as one. The floor was smooth gray concrete, polished until it reflected the ceiling lights in long white stripes. Steel columns rose into shadows. Cameras watched from every corner. Black glass eyes that did not blink. Along the far wall sat a line of vehicles that looked less like transportation and more like weapons wearing luxury badges. A silver Bentley, a black Range Rover, 2 vintage muscle cars under fitted covers, a low red Ferrari that seemed obscene in a place this cold and quiet. Harper stared through the window, dizzy and disoriented. Her mind tried to build a map from nothing. River north, alley, black SUV, a man's voice, the Lakeshore Compact, the Rourkes, the girl from the Herald, her. He had been talking about her. A sharp spike of panic cut through the fog. She fumbled for the door handle. Her fingers were clumsy, half numb, and trembling. The handle gave way with a soft mechanical click. She shoved the door open and spilled out of the SUV, catching herself on one knee before her face hit the concrete. Cold from the floor shot through her damp jeans. Harper sucked in a breath and scrambled backward. Her shoulder hit the side of another car. An alarm did not sound, but somewhere above her a camera turned with a quiet, mechanical whisper. She froze. A voice spoke from the shadows. "I would not run if I were you." The words were low calm and so certain that Harper obeyed before she even decided to. Her gaze snapped toward the elevator bank at the far end of the garage. A man stepped from behind a concrete column. He moved without hurry. That was the first thing Harper noticed. Men who were afraid moved fast. Men who wanted to look dangerous moved with drama. This man did neither. He crossed the polished floor like the space had been built for him and everyone else had only been allowed to borrow it. Charcoal overcoat, black suit, white shirt open at the throat. Dark hair brushed back from a face too controlled to be called handsome in any ordinary way. His jaw was clean and hard. His eyes were gray, almost silver beneath the cold lighting, and they held no surprise at finding a half-frozen woman in his garage. In his right hand, pointed downward, but ready, was a black pistol. Harper knew him. Not from television interviews. He did not give those. Not from courtroom photos. He had never stood in one long enough to be photographed. She knew him from grainy surveillance stills, sealed police reports, whispered source descriptions, and a file she had once kept hidden behind a loose panel in her apartment wall before that apartment went up in flames. Cole Maddox, the youngest boss in Chicago with the oldest kind of power. The man who controlled half the lakefront unions, 3 judges, 4 aldermen, and enough silence to make witnesses forget their own names. Harper stopped breathing. Cole's gaze moved over her. Not like a man looking at a woman. Like a man reading evidence. Wet boots, torn coat, blue fingers, sunken cheeks, bruise along her jaw, broken nails. Press badge hanging from a cracked plastic clip inside her open coat. His eyes paused there, then returned to her face. "You picked a strange place to die, Miss Lane." Her pulse slammed hard enough to hurt. He knew her name. Harper forced herself to stand. Her legs had other ideas. She swayed, caught the side mirror of the SUV and gripped it until her knuckles turned white. "I did not know it was your car," she said. Her voice came out raw, small. She hated that. Cole lifted the pistol just enough to make its presence official. "Hands where I can see them." Harper raised both hands. The motion pulled at every frozen muscle in her shoulders. She bit the inside of her cheek to stay upright. Cole stopped 10 feet away, close enough to kill her, far enough that she could not reach him. "You have one chance to tell me who sent you." "No one sent me." "That answer wastes time." "It is still the answer." His face did not change. "You broke into an armored vehicle in under 30 seconds. I was cold. You used a bypass tool. I was very cold. You hid in the rear blind spot where my driver would not see you unless he checked the floor. I passed out, after choosing the one place in the vehicle where the camera angle was weakest." Harper swallowed. Of course there had been cameras. Of course she had chosen the weak angle without thinking. Years of chasing criminals, ducking private security, and surviving on instinct had trained her body to do things her mind was too tired to name. Cole took one step closer. "Stupidity, desperation, or training," he said. "I want to know which one I brought home." "Desperation," Harper said. "With a little training." His eyes narrowed by a fraction. "What kind?" "I was a reporter." The word hung there between them. A faint shift passed through his expression. A reporter. Former reporter. Former reporters are just unemployed liars with cleaner vocabulary. Anger warmed her faster than the heater had. "I wrote for the Chicago Herald." Past tense. "They fired me. People are usually fired for a reason. I found one." Something dangerous passed through his eyes. "You should choose your next sentence carefully." Harper looked at the gun, then at the garage, then at the cameras, the cars, the elevator, the closed steel door that probably weighed more than her first apartment. She was not getting out by running. So she did the only thing left. She told enough of the truth to make him curious. "My name is Harper Lane. I covered organized crime, municipal corruption, and Port Authority contracts. 3 weeks ago, I was investigating a laundering chain tied to sanitation bids and lakefront shipping permits. The Rourke crew was using shell vendors to move money through city contracts. I had documents. I had names. I had a source inside their books." Cole did not blink. And then my editor killed the story. My apartment burned. The fire report blamed old wiring. The next morning, the Herald fired me for fabricating sources in a story I had never even filed. Her throat tightened around the memory, the smell of smoke, the hiss of water from the fire hoses, the little black flakes of her notebooks drifting against the sidewalk like dead birds. The assistant editor who would not meet her eyes when security walked her out of the newsroom. Harper forced herself back to the present. My accounts were frozen 2 days later. My landlord changed the locks. My phone stopped working. The shelters were full before the storm even hit. Cole watched her without sympathy. That was almost worse than cruelty. So you broke into my car. I broke into a warm car. My warm car. Yes, with a lock tool, yes. And you expect me to believe this is a coincidence? No, Harper said. I expect you to believe I was dying. For the first time, silence stretched. A ventilation fan hummed somewhere above them. Water dripped from the undercarriage of the SUV onto the polished floor. Harper could feel each drop as if it landed on her own skin. Cole moved. Harper stiffened, but he did not shoot. He slipped the pistol into a holster beneath his coat and circled her slowly. Turn around. No. His gaze sharpened. No. You have a gun, and I have hypothermia. If you want to search me, you can do it while I'm facing you. Cole's mouth did not smile, but something like dark amusement touched his eyes. You think facing me makes you safer? No. I think turning my back on you makes me stupid. He studied her another second. Then he said, Arms out. Harper obeyed. Cole stepped close enough for her to feel the heat coming off him. It made her dizzy. He searched her coat with efficient hands, impersonal and precise. He found the metal shim in her pocket and tossed it onto the hood of the SUV. It landed with a sharp tap. He found $3 in loose bills. An expired press badge. A notebook swollen from snow. A half-crushed granola bar frozen hard as a brick. His fingers paused against the torn lining inside her coat. Harper's heart stopped. The flash drive was there, wrapped in tape. Hidden in a seam she had sewn with dental floss in the bathroom of a bus station. Cole's eyes flicked to hers. He had felt something. She knew it. But before he could reach deeper, her knees buckled. The garage tilted. She grabbed for balance and caught only air. Cole caught her arm before she hit the floor. His grip was iron, but not painful. That small mercy confused her more than the gun. He looked down at her hand. Her fingers were trembling violently now, the nails tinged blue. You are freezing to death, I noticed, and starving. Less poetic, but yes. You always this difficult when someone keeps you alive. You have not decided to do that yet. His grip tightened slightly. No, he said. I have not. A second man entered through a side door near the elevator. Tall, broad, dressed in black tactical clothing beneath a wool coat. Military posture. Close-cropped hair. Sharp brown eyes that took in Harper Cole's hand on her arm and the open SUV door in one sweep. Boss. Cole did not look away from Harper. Wyatt checked the vehicle. Full sweep. Then pull the security logs from River North. Wyatt's attention settled on her. Who is she? Cole answered. A problem. Harper gave a weak laugh. Nice to meet you too. Wyatt did not smile. Cole released her arm and Harper nearly missed the support. Take her to a shelter, Cole said. Somewhere with heat. Somewhere she cannot talk to anyone for a few hours. Harper's stomach dropped. Outside meant exposure. Police. Rourke eyes. Maybe the kind of shelter where a woman disappeared between check-in and sunrise. She had played this wrong. No. She had played it too safe. She lifted her chin. If you go to the Lakeshore Compact tonight, you die. Wyatt's hand moved beneath his coat. Cole became still. The whole garage seemed to tighten around that sentence. Slowly he turned back to her. What did you say? Harper's voice shook, but she made the words clean. The compact at the Blackstone. The one the storm was supposed to delay but did not. The Rourkes are not coming to negotiate. They paid someone inside your organization. They have the service entrance schedule, the table map, and the private arrival route. They know where you will stand before the first toast. Wyatt looked at Cole. Cole looked only at Harper. Who I do not know yet. Then you know nothing. I know enough. He stepped toward her. This time there was no amusement in him at all. Who told you about the compact, my source? Name. He is dead. Convenient again. Dead people usually are. Wyatt's eyes narrowed at her tone. Harper knew she should stop provoking armed criminals in underground rooms, but fear had always sharpened her mouth before it sharpened her judgment. Cole said, "Where is your proof?" Harper hesitated. A mistake. Cole saw it instantly. His voice dropped. "Where is it safe?" He laughed once softly. No humor in it. You are homeless, frozen hungry, and standing in my garage after committing a felony. Nothing about you suggests safe. Then call it hidden. Where I tell you that after you agree not to throw me out. Wyatt muttered. She is negotiating. Cole's eyes did not leave hers. In my house. I did not ask to be brought here. You broke into my car. I was dying in the snow. You keep mentioning that as if it makes you innocent. No, Harper said. It makes me motivated. The silence after that felt alive. Cole came closer until the space between them was almost gone. He was taller than she had realized, the kind of tall that made the room rearrange around him. Harper forced herself not to step back. You are blackmailing me with an unverified threat and an invisible file. I am offering intelligence. You are offering fear. Fear keeps men alive if they are smart enough to listen. His jaw flexed. Behind him, Wyatt shifted, clearly unhappy. Cole asked, Why come to me at all? I did not. I came to your heater. Do not get clever. I am not being clever. I was supposed to meet my source 2 nights ago. He did not show. Then 2 Rourke soldiers started asking about me near the women's shelter on West Madison. I ran until I could not run anymore. Your car was there. Cole searched her face. Harper could feel how terrible she must look. Dirt under her nails, hair tangled from snow, lips cracked, eyes too hollow. A woman who had once walked into City Hall with a recorder and a blazer now stood shaking in a stranger's garage, bargaining with a mafia boss for the privilege of not being thrown back into the cold. But her mind still worked. That was the only part of her the storm had not taken. The Rourkes are not just trying to kill you, she said. They are trying to start a succession panic. If you die in front of the other bosses, every family in Chicago starts blaming every other family before your body is cold. While they fight the Rourke's move on the docks, the waste contracts, and the judges they already bought. Wyatt's expression changed slightly. Cole noticed. So Cole said, You know our business structure. I know enough to know you hide crime behind logistics and call it stability. Wyatt made a small sound that might have been disbelief. Cole's eyes hardened. Careful. I am careful. That is why I am still alive. You are alive because I have questions. Then keep asking them. Another long silence. Then Cole turned to Wyatt. Leave us. Wyatt did not like that. Boss. Now. Wyatt gave Harper one final look, the kind that promised she would not make it 10 feet if she tried anything. Then he walked toward the far side of the garage, speaking quietly into his radio. Cole faced Harper again. Tell me what you have. I have encrypted files from a Rourke accountant. Payments, shell companies, internal messages, access logs. I have enough to prove someone close to you gave them information. Close to me. Yes. Family I do not know. That was not entirely true. She had seen an initial. B. She had seen a reference to a private family channel. She had seen dates that lined up too neatly with Blake Maddox's public appearances beside Cole. But suspicion was not proof, and accusing a mafia boss's blood without proof was suicide wearing lipstick. Cole stepped away and ran one hand over his mouth, thinking. The gesture made him look human for half a second. Then it was gone. You understand what happens if you are lying. Yes. No, Harper. You do not. The sound of her first name in his voice struck somewhere low in her chest. Not soft, not intimate. Possessive in a way that made warning lights flare behind her ribs. Cole continued. If this is a Rourke play, if you are here to distract me, delay me, or pull my people out of position, I will find everyone who helped you. I will make sure the city remembers your name for the wrong reasons. Harper met his eyes. If I were working for the Rourkes, I would have stayed in the car until you reached the hotel. That landed. She saw it. Cole's gaze flicked to the SUV, then back to her. You could have. Yes. Why did you not? I passed out. A useful answer. And because I did not know who owned the car until I heard you on the phone. Cole studied her as if rearranging every piece of the last hour. Then his eyes moved again to her coat lining. Harper felt her pulse jump. He noticed. Of course he noticed. His voice softened into something more dangerous than anger. What is in the coat? Nothing that helps you if I am dead. His expression went cold. Wyatt. The security chief turned. Harper panicked not visibly, but inside where it mattered. If they took the drive by force, she had nothing. No leverage, no guarantee, no reason for them not to hand her to someone worse. She stepped forward before she could stop herself. Cole. Wyatt froze at the sound of his name. Cole did too, but only with his eyes. Harper's voice dropped. If you take it from me, I become useless. If I become useless, your world teaches men to remove me. I know that. You know that. So let me stay useful. Cole looked at her for a long time. You want protection. I want time. For what? To prove I am right. And after that, Harper's mouth went dry. After that, she wanted a clean passport. Money. Distance. A city where the name Rourke meant nothing and the name Harper Lane was not attached to a dead source, a burned apartment, and a ruined career. But saying that out loud felt too much like hope. So she said, After that, I want to live. Cole's eyes did something strange. Not soften, never that, but deepen, as if for one moment he believed her completely. Then the elevator at the far end opened again. Another man entered before Wyatt could stop him. He was blond, polished, smiling, and wrapped in a navy coat that looked tailored for cameras. Blake Maddox carried himself like a man who had grown up close enough to power to mistake proximity for ownership. His gaze landed on Harper, then on Cole, then on the open SUV. Well, Blake said, this is new. Cole's face closed. You were supposed to be at the Blackstone. So were you. Blake smiled wider. Instead, I hear we brought home a souvenir. Harper said nothing. She watched him. The damp edge of his coat, the snow on his shoes, the way his left hand kept brushing the inside pocket where his phone sat, the tiny pulse in his jaw when he looked at Cole. Blake's smile turned toward her. And who are you, sweetheart? Harper gave him the same hollow look she once used on politicians who thought calling her sweetheart would make her smaller. Cold. Blake laughed. Cole did not. She is not your concern, Cole said. That sounds exactly like something that becomes my concern. Cole stepped closer to him. The compact starts in 90 minutes. Go make sure the room is clean. Blake held his cousin's stare. Something passed between them, old and buried and sharp around the edges. Then Blake lifted both hands. Of course. Family first. The words were friendly. The room did not believe them. As Blake turned to leave, his phone buzzed once. He ignored it. Harper saw the name flash across the screen before the lock screen went dark. Not a full name, just 2 letters. RK. Her heart beat hard. Rourke. Blake disappeared into the elevator. Cole looked back at Harper. She knew better than to speak too quickly. Accusing him now would sound like desperation. But the detail burned in her mind. Cole said, "You saw something." Harper lifted her chin. "I see a lot of things." "Tell me." "Not until I can prove which ones matter." His eyes narrowed. "You are exhausting. You kidnapped me by accident. You broke into my car. Then we are both having a strange night." For one breath, just one, the corner of his mouth moved. Then Harper's vision blurred. The adrenaline that had held her upright finally burned out. Her body folded without permission. Cole caught her before she struck the floor. This time he did not look annoyed. He looked angry. Not at her, at the fact that she was breakable. Harper tried to push away. "I can walk. You can barely stand. I do not need you to carry me." "No," Cole said, sliding one arm behind her back and the other beneath her knees. "You need a doctor, food heat, and possibly a priest if you keep testing me." She should have fought harder. She wanted to. But when he lifted her, the warmth of him closed around her like a wall against the cold. Her head fell against his chest before pride could stop it. Beneath the wool and muscle, his heartbeat was steady, slow, infuriatingly calm. Wyatt returned eyes flicking to Cole, carrying her. "East Suite." Cole nodded. "Lock the floor. No calls in or out. Bring Dr. Keller. Tell the kitchen soup, bread, tea, and protein. Nothing heavy." Wyatt looked at Harper. "Asset or prisoner?" Cole stepped into the elevator with her in his arms. "Both." Harper forced her eyes open. "I heard that." Cole looked down at her. "You were meant to." The elevator doors closed. For a moment there was only the soft mechanical rise of the car and the distant thrum of the mansion above them. Harper could smell smoke on his coat. Cedar. Cold air. Something expensive and dark beneath it. "You said if I proved useful I could live," she whispered. "I did not say that. You implied it. I imply very little. You talk like a contract. You listen like a reporter. I was a reporter." Cole looked at the numbers climbing above the elevator doors. "No," he said. "You still are." That should not have mattered. But it did. The elevator rose higher into the house, carrying Harper away from the garage, away from the storm, and deeper into a world where warmth came with locks, safety came with armed guards, and every answer she gave could either save Cole Maddox or get her killed before sunrise. The elevator opened into silence, so complete Harper could hear her own breathing. Cole Maddox carried her across a private hallway lit by warm sconces and guarded by men who pretended not to stare. The walls were paneled in dark walnut. The floor beneath them was pale stone, polished smooth as ice. Through a long window at the end of the corridor, Chicago was nothing but a blur of white and black glass, swallowed by the storm that had nearly taken her. Harper tried to lift her head from Cole's chest. Her body refused. It was humiliating how easily exhaustion turned pride into weight. "I can stand now," she muttered. "No, you can argue," Cole said. "There is a difference." The guard nearest the door looked away quickly, but not before Harper caught the twitch at the corner of his mouth. Cole stopped in front of a set of double doors. Wyatt keyed in a code. Metal shifted inside the frame with a low mechanical click. The doors opened onto a suite that looked like it belonged to a woman waiting for champagne, not a fugitive who had broken into a crime lord's car. A fire burned in a black marble hearth. Thick curtains covered the windows. A cream sofa faced the flames. Beyond it, a dining table was set for one, though the silverware looked too formal for soup and fear. A door stood half open to a bathroom glowing with white tile and gold fixtures. Cole lowered her onto the sofa. Not gently. Not roughly either. He set her down like he was placing a dangerous object where he could keep track of it. Harper sank into the cushions, hating how good they felt. Wyatt stepped in behind him. "Dr. Keller is on the way. Kitchen is sending food." "Guards outside," Cole said. "No one enters without my permission." Wyatt glanced at Harper. "And if she tries to leave," Cole looked down at her. "She will not." Harper pulled the torn edges of her coat tighter around herself. That sounded like confidence. It was a warning. Wyatt shut the doors behind him. The lock engaged. Harper stared at it. The sound was small, but it went through her like a verdict. Cole moved to the wet bar and poured water into a glass. He brought it back and set it on the table in front of her, not in her hand. A test. Harper saw it immediately. He wanted to know how badly she was shaking, how weak she was, whether the woman offering intelligence could still hold a glass without spilling it. She leaned forward, her fingers closed around the crystal. The glass trembled violently, water kissing the rim. Cole watched. Harper lifted it to her mouth and drank anyway. The water hit her empty stomach like stone, but it cleared some of the gray from her head. "You enjoy making people prove they are not useless?" she asked. "I enjoy knowing what I am dealing with." "And what are you dealing with?" A half-frozen woman with a stolen skill set, a burned career, and a hidden drive in her coat. Harper went still. Cole sat in the chair opposite her, calm as a judge, ruthless as the man the judge owed money to. "You felt it," she said. "I feel many things. I mention the ones that matter. You did not take it." "No. Why?" "Because if I had taken it in the garage, you would have lied about the password, swallowed your tongue, or found some other dramatic way to make my night worse." Despite everything, Harper almost laughed. It came out as a tired breath. "You think highly of me. I think accurately." The suite doors opened after a coded knock. 2 staff members entered with a tray, both avoiding eye contact. Soup, bread, hot tea, sliced chicken, a small bowl of rice. Food simple enough not to punish a starving stomach. The smell hit Harper so hard she had to close her eyes. Tomato, basil, butter, steam. Her hands moved before she thought. Cole's voice stopped her. Slowly, she glared at him. "I know how to eat, not after starving." Her hunger snarled at the word, starving. It sounded too bare, too ugly, too true. She took the spoon anyway and forced herself to move slowly. The first sip of soup nearly undid her. Warmth spread down her throat and through her chest, opening something painful. She swallowed again. Her eyes burned, but she blamed the steam. Cole said nothing for a while. That made it worse. The room filled with small sounds. Spoon against bowl. Firewood cracking. Wind pressing against sealed glass somewhere beyond the curtains. Harper ate like each careful bite was a negotiation with her body. When she finished half the bowl, Cole leaned forward. "Now we talk." "Of course we do," she said. "God forbid digestion happen in peace." The drive. Harper wiped her mouth with the cloth napkin. It was softer than the sheets at the last shelter she had tried to sleep in. "It is encrypted," I assumed. It belonged to Aaron Vale. He worked books for the Rourke crew through a chain of shell vendors tied to dock maintenance contracts. He started feeding me documents when his wife got sick, and the Rourkes used her hospital debt to own him. Cole's face remained unreadable, but his fingers stilled on the arm of the chair. "He is dead. He vanished. With men like that, vanished usually means dead. And he gave you the drive. He gave me enough to get killed. Why not publish? My editor spiked the story before I could verify the last files. Then my source disappeared. Then my apartment burned. Then my paper decided I was unstable. Cole's gaze moved across her face. Were you? Harper smiled without warmth. After sleeping in bus stations for 3 weeks, I am open to the argument. A knock came at the door. Cole did not look away from her. Enter. A gray-haired doctor stepped inside carrying a black bag. He examined Harper with the brisk silence of a man used to treating people who could not go to hospitals. He checked her pulse, her pupils, her fingers, the bruise along her jaw, the raw skin around her wrists where cold had bitten deep. "You are lucky," he said. Harper laughed softly. "That is a new diagnosis. Mild hypothermia, dehydration, malnutrition, frostnip in the fingers, not full frostbite. She needs warmth fluids food in small amounts, rest and no stress." Cole's eyes flicked to Harper. She said, "We are all disappointed." The doctor packed his bag. "She should sleep. She will after she gives me what I need," Cole said. The doctor looked like he wanted to object, then remembered where he was standing. When he left, Harper reached into her coat. Cole's hand moved to his gun. She paused. Really habit. Bad one. Useful one. Slowly she turned the coat lining outward. Her stitches were crude, made from dental floss and desperation. She tore the seam open with her thumbnail and pulled out a tiny black flash drive wrapped in tape. It looked absurdly small in her palm. Too small to ruin lives. Too small to save them. Cole held out his hand. Harper closed her fist around it. "No." His eyes hardened. "We are past games. We are exactly inside the game. That is the problem. You think I will kill you once I see it. I think powerful men remove inconvenience. I have been inconvenient for a long time." Cole stood. The air changed with him. Harper forced herself not to lean back. He walked to the desk against the far wall and opened a drawer. From it he removed his pistol. He set it on the desk, then stepped away from it. "There," he said. Harper looked at the gun, then at him. "That does not make you harmless." "No, it makes me patient." She should not have trusted that. But trust was not what she was choosing. She was choosing the only path that did not end at the door with guards dragging her into the snow. Harper stood carefully, the room tilting just enough to remind her she was not fully human yet. She crossed to the desk and placed the flash drive near the laptop. Cole came beside her close, but not touching. When the drive entered the port, the screen turned black. Then white text appeared. "Enter passphrase." Cole looked at her. Harper looked at the cursor. The little blinking line felt like a heartbeat. "I do not know it," she said. Cole's silence was lethal. She lifted a hand before he spoke. "Aaron did not tell me directly. He gave me clues. He said the phrase was what he lost. What he lost was his wife." That was my first thought. She sat at the desk and pulled her damp notebook from her coat pocket. The pages had swollen, but the ink remained legible in places. Her handwriting crowded the margins, frantic and angled. Rose Hill. October 12th. Final bill. Debt makes loyal men kneel. RK vendor list. B account access. Cole leaned over her shoulder, reading. His warmth settled at her back. Not touching. Close enough to disturb her concentration. Harper typed the wife's full name. Wrong. She typed the anniversary. Wrong. The wife's maiden name. Wrong. A red warning appeared. 7 attempts remaining. Cole said, "Careful. I am aware the computer is threatening me. No. I am." She turned just enough to look at him. "That is almost funny." It was not. Still almost. She looked back at the notebook. "What I lost. not who. Aaron Vale had loved his wife. That much had been clear from every conversation. But grief had not sent him to the Rourkes. Debt had. The hospital had billed him until his life narrowed to numbers. The Rourkes paid what he owed, then demanded his soul with interest. Harper tapped the page. Rose Hill was not a person. It was the medical center. Cole's eyes sharpened. The final bill, she whispered. She remembered Aaron sitting across from her in a diner on a rainy Tuesday, eyes hollow thumb, worrying the edge of his coffee cup. They did not buy me Miss Lane. They bought the number I could not pay. What was the amount? Cole asked. Harper scanned her notes. Her pulse climbed. October 12th. Final bill. $41,200. She typed carefully. ROSEHILL 41200. The screen flashed. Access granted. For the first time since waking, Harper felt something like air fill her lungs. Cole did not praise her. He did something better. He became completely still. The files opened in columns. Payment records, vendor accounts, port schedules, private messages, scanned invoices, security rotations, guest lists. Harper's exhaustion fell away under the old familiar rush. This was the feeling she had lived for before hunger and cold turned every day into survival. The chase, the pattern, the hidden structure beneath, lies. Her fingers moved over the keys. She forgot Cole behind her, forgot the locked door, forgot the soup cooling on the table. The Rourkes had used 3 vendors to move money into political accounts. Those accounts routed payments through consulting firms. One firm paid a private security subcontractor. That subcontractor had access to the Blackstone event staffing list. There, she murmured. Cole leaned closer. What? These files were not only copied from the Rourkes. Someone inside your organization sent them updates. Seating chart revisions, arrival timing, names of your security detail. She opened the access log. Most entries were masked. One was not. B. Maddox. The room became very quiet. Cole did not move. Harper felt the silence before she understood it. It was not disbelief. It was containment, like a man holding a blade by the sharp end and refusing to bleed where anyone could see. Could be spoofed, Cole said. Yes. Could be planted. Yes. Could be someone using his credentials. Yes. Harper clicked through 3 more files. Bank transfers. A private message confirming the signal. A hotel diagram with red circles around service doors. An internal memo from Cole's office forwarded to an encrypted Rourke address. The sending account was Blake's. The final message had been sent 2 hours ago. Harper read it aloud, her voice low. Storm will reduce outside coverage. Cole will not cancel. Toast at 9. Servers move on glass lift. Cole's hand closed around the back of the chair. For a second, she thought the wood might crack. Harper looked at the clock above the fireplace. 8:15. When did you say the compact starts? Cole was already reaching for his phone. The call connected. No answer. He tried another number. No answer. Then Wyatt's voice came through on speaker. Boss, where is Blake at the Blackstone? He said you ordered him ahead. Cole's face turned cold enough to change the temperature in the room. I did not. Harper stood too fast. Dizziness hit her, but she gripped the desk. The toast is at 9. The servers are the shooters. Blake raises the glass as the signal. Cole grabbed the pistol from the desk and headed for the door. Harper caught his sleeve. He looked down at her hand. Every survival instinct told her to let go. She did not. If you go in angry, he wins. Cole's eyes lifted to hers. You think I do not know how to walk into a room with a traitor? I think blood makes smart men stupid. Wyatt's voice crackled through the phone. "Boss, do you want us to pull the team?" Cole said. "No. If we pull out, Blake knows we know. Keep formation. I am on my way." He ended the call. Harper's fingers were still on his sleeve. Cole looked at them again. This time she let go. "I am coming with you," she said. "No. I can identify patterns in the staff list. I can spot the men from the files." "No." "Cole." His name landed harder this time. He stepped closer. "You are half dead, locked in my house, and currently the only living person outside my circle who can prove Blake sold me out. You do not leave this room. That makes me a target. It makes you protected. It makes me trapped." His jaw tightened. For tonight, those are the same thing. Harper hated that part of her understood. He turned to the door and punched in the code. Before leaving, he looked back. The firelight cut one side of his face in gold and left the other in shadow. "Do not touch the computer. Do not touch the phone. Do not open the curtains. Do not test the guards. Eat. Sleep. Breathe. That is your entire job until I come back. And if you do not come back..." His eyes held hers. "Then pray. Wyatt gets to you before Blake does." The door opened. Cole stepped out. The lock sealed behind him. Harper stood alone in the suite, the unlocked files glowing on the laptop and the storm pressing its white hands against the hidden windows. For 3 seconds she obeyed him. Then she moved. She copied the most important files onto a second drive from Cole's desk drawer. Seating chart, access log, Blake's message, staff list, payment trail. She searched the folder for attached images and found 3 grainy surveillance stills of men entering a Rourke-owned warehouse 2 days earlier. One had a crescent scar beneath his jaw. One wore a heavy gold ring on his left hand. One had deep-set eyes and the calm posture of a man who had killed before breakfast. Harper memorized them. Then she searched the desk for a direct line. Nothing. The room phone required a code. The laptop had no outside network access without Cole's credentials. Her own phone was dead somewhere in the coat she had not yet burned. Her gaze landed on a small, secure radio unit near a stack of papers. Locked. Biometric scanner. "Of course," she whispered. She looked toward the glass Cole had used earlier in the garage in her mind, then toward the water glass he had set out for her. No, that one was hers. But on the side table beside the chair there was a crystal tumbler with a thumbprint near the rim. Cole's. He had poured something before the doctor came in and never finished it. Harper grabbed a linen napkin, dampened the corner with water, and pressed it lightly to the print. Her heart pounded as she lifted the faint oil residue and laid the cloth over the scanner. The device blinked red. She adjusted the angle. Again. Red. "Come on," she breathed. She pressed harder. Green. Access granted. Harper nearly laughed. Instead, she grabbed the handset and called the Blackstone front desk. She gave her name as Maddox Intelligence with enough authority to make the young man on the other end stop interrupting. "Get this message to Cole Maddox now. Not Blake, not his cousin. Cole Maddox only. Say exactly this. The servers are armed. Blake is the signal. The toast starts the shooting." The man stammered. "Ma'am, I cannot just interrupt a private event." Harper's voice turned to steel. "In 30 minutes, your ballroom becomes a crime scene on national news. Move." She ended the call. The suite lights shifted from warm gold to pulsing red. A low alarm vibrated through the floor. Harper looked at the radio in her hand, then at the locked door. Wyatt's voice came through the speaker, no longer calm. "Miss Lane, step away from the desk." Harper slipped the copied drive into the pocket of her borrowed sweater. The door lock began to disengage. Metal by metal, bolt by bolt. She raised her hands before the guards entered, her eyes fixed on the fire, her pulse steadying around one clean thought. Cole had locked her in to keep her safe. But safety had never broken a story, stopped a bullet, or saved a man walking toward betrayal beneath crystal chandeliers. The first guard entered with his weapon raised. Harper kept her hands where he could see them, palms open, fingers trembling only a little. The copied drive rested like a burning coal inside the pocket of her borrowed sweater. She could feel every sharp edge of it against her ribs. Wyatt Reed came in behind the guards. His face had gone hard and flat, not angry, worse, professional. "Step away from the desk, Miss Lane. I already did. You accessed a locked communication unit. I used it. That was not permission." "No," Harper said. "That was necessity." One of the guards moved toward her, reaching for her arm. Harper did not fight. Fighting would make her look exactly like the threat they already believed she was. She lowered herself to her knees before they could force her down, slow and deliberate eyes on Wyatt. Cole is walking into an ambush. Wyatt's jaw flexed. Mr. Maddox knows the risk. No, he knows Blake is dirty. He does not know what the room looks like. "I do." Wyatt stopped. The guard beside Harper glanced at him, waiting. Harper took that pause and drove straight through it. There are 3 confirmed shooters disguised as hotel staff, maybe 4. One by the south exit with a crescent scar under his jaw. One near the bar with a heavy gold ring on his left hand. One behind the head table with deep-set eyes and black hair. The primary shooter is close enough to put a bullet in Cole before anyone reaches him. Wyatt's expression did not change, but his eyes sharpened. "You saw this, where on the files Cole told me not to touch." A muscle moved in Wyatt's cheek. Harper held his stare. "You can punish me for that if he survives." The room went silent, except for the low pulse of the alarm. Wyatt stepped closer. "You expect me to disobey a direct order because you memorized 3 faces from a file I have not verified?" "No. I expect you to think like a man whose boss might be dead in 20 minutes. The guard by her shoulder tightened his grip. Wyatt said, "Search her." Harper did not move as they patted her down. When the guard's hand reached her pocket, she said, "Careful. That is the copy." He pulled out the small drive and handed it to Wyatt. Wyatt crossed to the laptop, plugged it in, and opened the files. His eyes moved quickly. Seating chart, access log, hotel staff list, Blake's message, surveillance stills. He looked at the screen for a long moment. Then he looked at Harper. "You lied about not knowing the traitor. I suspected. I proved. Cole told you to stay here. Cole is not here." The smallest shift passed across Wyatt's face. It was not trust. Not yet. It was calculation. Harper recognized it because Cole had worn the same look in the garage. Wyatt turned to the guards. "Get her shoes. Coat. Anything warm." One guard frowned. "Boss said containment. Boss also said she was an asset." Wyatt looked back at Harper. "Assets move when they are useful." Harper rose too quickly. The room dipped sideways, but she caught the desk and forced her legs to hold. Wyatt saw it and said nothing. That was his first kindness. They moved fast. No one explained. No one reassured. Harper was given a long black coat that smelled faintly of cedar and a pair of flat boots 1 size too big. Wyatt strapped a tiny communication piece behind her ear and tucked the wire beneath her hair with the efficiency of a battlefield medic. "If you run, I drop you. I am tired of running. If you lie, I drop you. I am tired of that too." Wyatt almost looked amused. Almost. They took a service elevator down through the spine of the mansion. Harper stood between 2 armed men watching the floors descend. Her reflection stared back from the elevator doors. Clean hair, borrowed sweater, pale face, eyes too bright. She looked less like the woman who had broken into the SUV. That did not make her safer. The lower garage opened in front of them, different from the first one. No classic cars, no polished vanity, just armored sedans, tactical gear, snow chains, weapons cases, men moving with quiet speed. A black sedan waited with its engine running. Wyatt opened the rear door. Harper got in. The city swallowed them 10 minutes later. Chicago was a ghost under the storm. Snow-buried curbs and softened street signs. Traffic lights swung over empty intersections. The sedan cut through side streets with dangerous confidence tires growling over ice. Harper gripped the seatbelt with both hands and stared through the windshield as the Blackstone Hotel rose ahead, gold windows glowing behind the snow. Inside those walls, men with old money and older grudges were gathering beneath crystal light, and Cole Maddox was standing among them with his cousin at his side. They entered through the service lane, not the lobby. Wyatt flashed a card at a security guard who knew better than to ask questions. The kitchen corridors were hot and bright, full of steam, clattering pans, and terrified hotel staff pressed against walls as Cole's men moved past them. Harper caught fragments of ordinary life as she passed. A chef whispering a prayer. A young server crying silently near a stack of plates. The smell of garlic butter and roasted meat. It made the danger feel worse. Violence was always more obscene when it walked through rooms built for weddings and expensive dinners. Wyatt stopped before a narrow stairwell. "We go to the mezzanine. You stay above the ballroom. You identify. You do not engage. You do not speak unless I ask. You do not make yourself visible." Harper nodded. Wyatt held her gaze. "I mean it." "I understand." "No, you answer like you understand." "That is not the same thing." A faint smile touched her mouth despite the fear twisting in her stomach. "You and Cole take the same class Cole teaches it." They climbed. At the top, Wyatt cracked open a service door. Sound spilled through. Music. Laughter. Glasses chiming. The low thunder of powerful men pretending they were civilized. Harper stepped into the shadowed mezzanine and saw the ballroom below. It was beautiful enough to make her hate it. Crystal chandeliers poured warm light across white tablecloths and black tuxedos. Women in silk gowns moved like jewels through the crowd. Waiters drifted between tables with silver trays. On the raised platform at the far end, the heads of Chicago's criminal families sat together beneath floral arrangements tall enough to hide weapons. And there was Cole. He stood near the head table in a black suit that made everyone around him look overdressed and underprepared. Calm, controlled, untouchable from a distance. Blake stood beside him smiling as if the night belonged to him. Harper's mouth went dry. Cole looked up. For 1 second, across the glittering room and the moving crowd, his eyes found hers. The anger in his face was immediate. So was the relief. Wyatt muttered, "He sees you." Harper whispered, "Good." Then he knows to listen. Cole did not move toward her. He did not break character. He turned back to an older man speaking beside him, but his right hand adjusted his cuff once. A signal. Wyatt's fingers went to his earpiece. He is on alert. Harper scanned the room. At first it was too much. Too many faces. Too much motion. White jackets. Black bow ties. Hands lifting glasses. Guests turning. Security shifting along walls. Then her reporter's mind took over. She stopped looking for people. She started looking for mistakes. A real waiter watched trays, paths, guests, empty glasses. A fake waiter watched exits, weapons targets. There she whispered. Wyatt leaned close. South exit, white jacket, dark hair, scar beneath the left jaw. He keeps touching his cuff. Wyatt spoke softly into his radio. Target 1 marked. South exit. Crescent scar. The man below adjusted his tray and looked toward Blake. Harper's breath caught. Target 2 near the bar. Gold ring on left hand. He is not serving drinks. He is watching Cole's shoulder line. Marked. Harper moved her gaze toward the head table. The primary shooter would be closest. Brave or suicidal. Either way, he would need line of sight before the first shot. A waiter stepped behind Cole to collect untouched plates. His face was calm. Too calm. Deep-set eyes. Black hair combed flat. Right hand empty. left hand never leaving the fold of his jacket. Harper's skin went cold. Target 3 behind Cole. Primary. He is within 10 feet. Wyatt's voice lowered. Marked. Team moving. Below them, Cole shifted half a step to his left, just enough to change the angle between himself and the waiter. Blake saw the movement. For the first time all night his smile faltered. Then he lifted his champagne glass. Harper's voice turned to air. That is the signal. The primary shooter moved. So did Cole. He drove one shoulder into the head table and flipped it forward with brutal force. White linen, crystal silverware, and flowers crashed to the floor. The first suppressed shot punched into the wall where his head had been. For half a second no one understood. Then the ballroom exploded. Screams tore through the music. Guests dropped beneath tables. Men in tuxedos reached for weapons. The waiter by the south exit ripped a gun from his cuff. The man at the bar fired into Cole's security line. Wyatt's team surged from 3 entrances at once. Harper stayed frozen on the mezzanine, hands gripping the railing so hard her nails hurt. Cole moved like violence had been waiting inside him all night for permission. He dragged one older boss behind the overturned table, fired twice, then rolled behind a fallen chair as bullets tore through the floral stands. Blake dropped to the floor. Not wounded. Hiding. Harper saw it. Then she saw something worse. A 4th man emerged from the kitchen corridor carrying a tray stacked with folded napkins. He had not been in the files. He moved toward the side of the platform where Cole's back was exposed. Harper touched her earpiece. Wyatt, 4th shooter. Kitchen corridor. Tray in hand. Static. Gunfire swallowed the line. The 4th shooter reached beneath the napkins. Harper looked around wildly. There was a tall silver centerpiece on a narrow table beside her, heavy and ugly, shaped like some abstract bird. She grabbed it with both hands and heaved. For one suspended second, it vanished over the railing. Then it crashed onto the buffet below with a sound like a car wreck. The 4th shooter flinched and looked up. Cole saw him. One shot. The man fell backward into a spray of broken glass. Cole's gaze snapped to the mezzanine again. This time fury burned across his face so clearly Harper felt it like a hand around her throat. Wyatt grabbed her arm. "I told you not to engage. You are welcome. We are moving." He pulled her toward the service stairs as the ballroom devolved into chaos behind them. Harper nearly slipped twice on the narrow steps. Wyatt caught her once by the back of the coat and kept going. They burst into the kitchen. Steam rolled thick through the bright room. Staff crouched behind counters. Somewhere a woman sobbed into her hands. The sharp smell of gunpowder cut through butter and hot oil. Cole came through the opposite door, dragging Blake by the collar. Blake's face was pale. His hair had fallen into his eyes. Blood ran from his lip, but his fear looked wrong. Too performed. Too loud. Cole shoved him against a steel prep table. "You raised the glass." Blake coughed. "I raised a toast." Cole hit him once. Blake dropped to one knee. Harper flinched but did not look away. Cole turned toward her. In 3 strides he was in front of her, hands closing around her shoulders as his eyes searched her face, throat, chest, arms. "Are you hit?" "No." "Did I tell you to stay upstairs?" "Yes." "Did you listen?" "No." His fingers tightened. "That 4th shooter would have had you. That 4th shooter would have had you." They stared at each other, breathing hard in the middle of the kitchen while men shouted and glass shattered beyond the swinging doors. For one strange second, the noise receded. Cole's eyes dropped to her mouth. Then the loading dock doors blew open. Gunfire ripped through the kitchen. Wyatt shoved Harper down as bullets sparked against steel counters. Cole grabbed her and pulled her behind him with such force her shoulder hit his back. His body covered hers, solid and warm and shaking with controlled rage. "Rourke reinforcements," Wyatt shouted. Cole fired toward the loading dock. How many? 6 at least. Maybe more. Blake crawled toward the far exit. Harper saw him. "Cole." Cole turned. Blake froze, one hand on the door handle. For a moment, the cousins stared at each other across the kitchen smoke. Blake smiled with blood on his teeth. "You always did collect broken things, cousin." Cole's face went still. Then he crossed the space and drove the butt of his gun into Blake's temple. Blake collapsed against a stack of crates. Cole looked at Wyatt. "Bind him. There is no time. Make time." Wyatt zip-tied Blake's wrists with brutal efficiency. More bullets hit the counters. A hotel laundry van sat idling near the loading dock rear doors, open half full of linen bags. Its driver had abandoned it, leaving the keys swinging. Harper pointed. "The van." Cole looked once. "Move." They ran. Wyatt covered them. Cole kept one hand around Harper's wrist and dragged Blake with the other half, carrying, half throwing him toward the van. Harper climbed into the passenger seat. Cole shoved Blake into the back hard enough to knock the air from him. Wyatt slammed the rear doors and banged twice. Cole took the driver's seat. The van lurched backward through the loading dock tires, spinning over slush and broken glass. A Rourke gunman fired at the windshield. A white crack bloomed across the passenger side. Harper ducked. Cole did not. He drove straight at the man. The gunman dove aside as the van burst into the alley and slammed into the storm. Chicago rushed around them in streaks of snow and red brake lights. Cole took corners too fast, one hand on the wheel, the other holding a gun low near his thigh. Behind them, Blake groaned and cursed from the floor of the van. Wyatt's voice crackled through the radio, directing remaining teams through emergency routes. Harper pressed one hand to the cracked window and tried to slow her breathing. Her ears rang. Her hands shook. Her heart would not settle. Cole glanced at her. "You are bleeding." She looked down. A thin cut crossed the back of her hand, bright red against pale skin. "It is nothing. I decide what is nothing." She laughed once, breathless and wild. "You really do hear yourself right." His jaw tightened, but the corner of his mouth almost moved. The van fishtailed on a turn. Cole corrected it instantly. Behind them, headlights appeared. 2 cars. Fast. Harper twisted in her seat. "They found us." Cole checked the mirror. "Hold on." He drove the laundry van into an underpass, cut the lights for 2 terrifying seconds, then swerved into a service lane buried between delivery bays. The first pursuing car shot past. The second tried to turn in after them and slammed into a snowbank. Cole kept driving. Only when the city noise thinned did Harper realize they had left downtown. The buildings grew lower, the streets darker. Snow flattened everything into silence. Blake stirred in the back. "You cannot keep me like this, Cole." Cole's eyes stayed on the road. "I can keep you any way I want. They will come for me. They already did." Blake laughed weakly. "You think she saved you? She walked into your house with Rourke files, and suddenly I am the traitor. You are losing your edge." Harper turned in her seat. "You sent the message about the toast at 9. Blake's smile faded. She continued, voice quiet. "You used your own account once because you were arrogant enough to think no one would live long enough to check. Aaron Vale kept the logs. Your people killed him, but they missed the drive." Blake's eyes went flat. There he was. Not the charming cousin. Not the polished second. The man beneath. Cole saw it in the mirror. His grip on the wheel tightened until his knuckles whitened. "You sold me." Blake looked at him. "No. I corrected the family's mistake." The words landed harder than gunfire. Cole said nothing. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of years. Childhood rooms, shared blood, funerals, family dinners, old debts, all of it curdling in the narrow space of a stolen laundry van. Harper looked at Cole's profile. For the first time, she saw pain before he buried it. It lasted less than a breath. Then the boss returned. Cole turned north. Harper noticed the signs changing, the roads widening, the lake disappearing behind walls of snow. Where are we going? Somewhere Blake hates enough to forget. Blake shifted in the back. No. Cole's voice was calm. Yes. Harper looked between them. What place? A cabin in Wisconsin, Cole said. No records, no power grid, no cell service. My grandfather built it before the family learned to hide behind lawyers. Harper exhaled slowly. That sounds like either safety or a grave. Cole glanced at her. Depends who gets there first. The van pushed out of the city and into the dark, the storm closing behind them like a curtain. Harper sat beside Cole with blood drying on her hand. Blake bound in the back and the evidence of a broken empire hidden inside her coat. The Blackstone burned with sirens behind them. Ahead the road narrowed into snow pine shadows and a silence deep enough to hold whatever truth survived the night. The farther they drove from Chicago, the quieter the world became. The city did not vanish all at once. It loosened its grip by degrees. First, the glass towers disappeared behind snow. Then the streetlights thinned. Then the crowded lanes gave way to dark highway where the wind moved across open land with nothing to slow it down. The laundry van rattled beneath them like it had been built for towels. Not fugitives, not gunfire, not a mafia boss with blood on his collar and betrayal in his rearview mirror. Harper kept her eyes on Cole's profile. He had not spoken in 20 minutes. That worried her more than shouting would have. His left hand held the wheel. His right rested low near the gun in his lap. Snow flashed in the headlights, white and endless, while the wipers scraped back and forth with a tired rhythm. Every few miles, Cole checked the mirror. Not quickly, not nervously. He looked like a man who expected death to follow him and refused to be surprised when it did. In the back of the van, Blake Maddox shifted against the linen bags, wrists bound, lip split. Pride damaged more than his face. You are making a mistake, Blake said, voice rough. Cole did not answer. Blake laughed weakly. That is new. Cole Maddox with nothing clever to say. Harper turned slightly. You should save your energy. Blake's eyes slid toward her. And you should have stayed frozen in that alley. The van swerved. Not much, just enough for Blake's shoulder to slam into a metal shelf. He cursed. Cole's voice came quiet from the front. Speak to her like that again. Blake went still. Harper looked at Cole. His eyes remained on the road, but something in the van had changed. The threat had not been loud. It did not need to be. Harper faced forward again. The warmth from his coat still wrapped around her shoulders. It was too large, heavy, with the scent of smoke and cedar and him. She should have taken it off. She should have handed it back. She should have drawn a clean line somewhere between survival and the dangerous comfort of being claimed by a man who had no business feeling like shelter. Instead, she pulled it tighter. You are bleeding through your shirt, she said. It stopped. It did not. It slowed. That is not the same thing. He glanced at her. You always argue with injured men. Only the ones driving me into the woods. A faint curve touched his mouth. Gone almost before she saw it. They left the highway near Kenosha and turned onto a county road buried under drifts. The van fought every mile. Snow slapped the sides. Ice cracked beneath the tires. Twice Cole corrected skids so calmly, Harper wondered what kind of childhood taught a boy to drive like that before it taught him to trust. The road narrowed. Pines closed in. The headlights caught nothing but trunk snow and the occasional flash of animal eyes in the dark. Blake stirred again. You cannot take me there. That got Cole's attention. His eyes lifted to the mirror. You remember it. Blake's mouth tightened. Grandfather's cabin, Cole said. Funny. I thought you hated that place. I did. Then you should feel right at home. You think this is strategy. It is sentiment. Cole's face hardened. No, sentiment is what kept you breathing in the back of this van. Blake looked away. Harper watched that exchange closely. There was pain under it. Not the clean pain of betrayal discovered in one night, but something older. Two boys raised under the same roof. One chosen. One left close enough to see the throne and too far to touch it. Nothing about that excused Blake. But motive had texture, and Harper's mind still reached for the shape of truth even when the truth carried a gun. The van lurched. Cole turned the wheel, but the rear slid sideways. The tires spun, caught nothing, then dropped into a deep drift with a heavy final sound. The engine growled. The van did not move. Cole tried once more. Nothing. He shut it off. The silence after the engine died was massive. Harper listened to the wind. Cole opened his door. "We walk." Blake laughed. "Absolutely not." Cole stepped out into the snow, came around to the back, and opened the rear doors. Wind punched into the van. Blake recoiled from it, as if weather itself had insulted him. Cole grabbed him by the front of his coat and hauled him out. Blake stumbled knee-deep into the snow. "My arm is injured. Your arm is dramatic. I need a doctor. You need consequences." Harper climbed down carefully, boots sinking into powder. The cold bit through the borrowed coat immediately. The woods around them were black and silver, the kind of beautiful that did not care if people survived long enough to admire it. Cole pulled a black duffel from beneath the driver's seat. Ammunition, medical kit, flashlight, a smaller pistol. He handed the flashlight to Harper. "Stay close. I am not wandering off for the scenery." Wyatt's voice crackled through the handheld radio from another vehicle somewhere behind them. "We are 30 minutes out. Roads are bad." Cole pressed the button. "Make it 20. Trying." The line broke into static. Cole shoved Blake forward. They walked. The cabin appeared after what felt like a lifetime of snow and breath and aching legs. It sat between the pines like something the forest had been trying to bury for years. Dark timber walls, stone chimney, a covered porch sagging under ice. No lights, no tire tracks, no sound but wind moving through branches. Cole stopped at the edge of the clearing. Harper knew that pause. He was not admiring memory. He was counting windows. "Stay behind me," he said. This time she did. Cole approached the door with his gun raised. He unlocked it with an old brass key from his pocket, then entered first. Harper waited in the cold with Blake breathing hard beside her. From inside came the sound of a drawer opening, a floorboard creaking. Then Cole's voice, clear. The cabin smelled of old wood dust, ashes, and cold stone. Harper stepped inside and swept the flashlight across the room. It was smaller than she expected. One main room with a fireplace, a scarred wooden table, a narrow kitchen, and a loft above. The furniture looked old, but solid. A pair of snowshoes hung on one wall. A faded photograph sat on the mantel showing 3 boys in winter coats beside an older man with a hard face. Cole was one of the boys. Blake was another. Harper did not ask about the third. Cole crossed to the fireplace and began stacking wood with quick practiced movements. His hands knew the room. That told Harper more than any story could have. Blake dropped into a chair near the table, still bound. "You always loved playing mountain man." Cole struck a match. The flame lit his face from below, cutting shadows under his cheekbones. "You always cried when the generator went out. I was 8. You were 12. The fire caught slowly. Orange light spread across the stone, then the floor, then Harper's hands. She held them toward it despite herself. Heat kissed her fingers, and the memory of the SUV came back so sharply she almost swayed. Cole noticed. Of course he did. "Sit," he said. She gave him a look. "Please." He added as if the word had been dragged from him by force. Harper sat. Then she saw the blood. It had spread beneath his jacket, dark against his shirt near the ribs. Cole. He looked down as if mildly annoyed by his own body. Not now. Yes, now. He moved toward the window. Harper stood and blocked him. Sit down. Blake made a soft sound of amusement. Careful. He hates being ordered around by women. Harper looked over her shoulder. Then tonight can be educational. Cole stared at her. For one long second, she thought he might refuse just because refusing was easier than admitting pain. Then he sat. Harper opened the medical kit on the table. The supplies were military grade. Gauze, antiseptic, suture strips, painkillers, gloves. Shirt, she said. His brow lifted. Do not make that face. You are bleeding on a chair that probably has family history. Cole removed his coat, then unbuttoned his shirt. Harper kept her expression steady with more effort than she liked. He was built like a man who treated softness as a liability. Muscle, old scars, fresh blood, the clean line of discipline across his body. The wound along his ribs was not deep enough to kill him, but it was ugly torn by a round that had passed too close. Harper cleaned it. Cole did not flinch until the antiseptic hit. Then his jaw tightened. Hurts? She asked. No. Liar. His eyes met hers. Reporter. She pressed gauze against the wound. Still. The word hung there between them. Still. Cole watched her hands as she worked. You have done this before. Once on a cop during a raid. Once on myself after a Rourke soldier shoved me through a window. Once on a woman at a shelter who said she fell downstairs but kept checking the door. Cole's eyes darkened. Harper focused on the bandage. Do not look like that. Like what? Like you are deciding who to kill. I often am. Not for me. That made him quiet. She taped the gauze in place and sat back. Her fingers shook now that the task was done. Cole caught her wrist gently before she could pull away. The contact was careful. That made it worse. Why did you throw the centerpiece? He asked. Harper tried to make her voice light. I disliked the decor. Harper. There was that name again lower this time. She looked at him. Because he had you, she said. Because I saw it before anyone else did. Because for 1 second I had the angle and you did not. His thumb rested against the inside of her wrist, right over her pulse. You could have been shot. So could you. You were not supposed to care. She smiled faintly. You were not supposed to know my name. The fire cracked. Behind them, Blake laughed softly. It ruined whatever almost happened. Cole released her wrist and turned. Blake sat slumped in the chair, but his eyes were sharp. This is touching, he said. Really, the stray finds a fireplace. The king finds a conscience. Someone should write it down. Harper stood. Why did you do it? Cole did not stop her. Blake's smile thinned. Ask him. I am asking you. Blake looked at Cole, because he inherited everything and called it burden. Cole's face went blank. Blake leaned forward as much as the restraints allowed. Our fathers built this city with blood. He took the chair and started talking about stability negotiations. Clean routes, less heat. He made us respectable. His lip curled. Respectable criminals. Can you imagine anything more pathetic? Cole said quietly. You sold us to the Rourkes because I would not turn Chicago into a graveyard for your ego. Blake's eyes flashed. You were never supposed to lead. Your father died and everyone looked at you like tragedy made you holy. I stood beside you for 15 years, while men twice your age bowed because your grief photographed better than mine. Harper saw it then. Not remorse. Hunger. the kind that could never be fed because it had mistaken love for territory. Blake's gaze slid back to her. And then you brought her in. One starving reporter, and suddenly you heard truth from a stranger faster than blood from me. Cole stood. Harper caught his arm before he crossed the room. The muscles beneath her hand were rigid. "Do not," she said softly. Blake smiled. "There it is." Cole looked down at Harper's hand on his arm. She did not remove it. "You do not get to call this loyalty," she told Blake. "You did not want the family saved. You wanted it wounded enough to need you." For the first time, Blake had no quick answer. Outside, something moved. Cole heard it too. His head turned toward the window. Harper's hand fell away. The cabin went still. Then the radio on the table crackled. Wyatt's voice came through broken static. "Cole, we found a signal. Short-range tracker. It is coming from inside your location." Cole looked at Blake. Blake smiled. Not loudly, not nervously. Just enough. Cole crossed the room and ripped open Blake's coat. He searched pockets, collar belt shoes. Nothing. Then Harper saw Blake's wrist. "Watch clasp," she said. Cole grabbed his wrist. Blake tried to jerk away. Too late. Cole tore the watch free and crushed it under his boot. Outside headlights cut between the trees. One pair, then two, then four. Cole lifted his gun. Down. The first bullet shattered the front window. Harper dropped behind the table as glass sprayed across the floor. Blake screamed. Cole moved to the side wall and fired twice through the broken window. The shots were deafening inside the cabin. Harper crawled to the old rifle mounted above the fireplace. Cole saw her. "No," she pulled it down anyway. "I am very tired of that word." He fired again toward the trees. "Do you know how to use it?" "My grandfather hunted deer in Michigan. I hated it. I learned anyway." Another bullet tore through the wall above her head. "Good enough," Cole said. The attack came in waves. Men moved between the pines, black shapes against white ground. Snow swallowed their footsteps, but muzzle flashes gave them away. Cole covered the front. Harper took the side window breath-shaking rifle heavy in her hands. She saw one man crouch near the woodpile and fired. The recoil punched her shoulder. She missed. The man moved again, lifting something in his hand. A flare. Her stomach dropped. "Propane," she shouted. Cole turned. Outside, the man aimed toward the tank near the back wall. Harper fired again. This time the man dropped the flare, spinning red into the snow. Cole looked at her across the smoke-filled room. No surprise, only recognition. Then Wyatt's team arrived. Gunfire erupted from the tree line behind the attackers. The Rourke men scattered, caught between the cabin and Wyatt's people. Cole advanced onto the porch despite Harper shouting his name. He moved through smoke and snow like the storm belonged to him, firing with cold precision until the woods fell silent, except for the wind and the distant groans of wounded men. When it ended, Harper stood in the middle of the room with the rifle lowered, ears ringing, hands numb around the stock. Cole came back inside. Blood had started to seep through his bandage. Harper's anger arrived before her fear. "You tore the wound open. You shot the man with the flare. You changed the subject. You saved the cabin. You nearly bled through my work." He looked at her, then really looked, and something in his face broke loose from the control he wore like armor. Harper could not move. Cole crossed the room and took the rifle from her hands. He set it on the table. His fingers brushed hers. She should have stepped back. She did not. "You keep standing in front of death for me," he said. "So stop making it necessary." His breath left him in something almost like a laugh. Then he kissed her. It was not gentle at first. It was shock relief, anger, and the leftover violence of surviving. Harper grabbed the front of his torn shirt, careful of the wound and not careful enough of anything else. He tasted like smoke and winter and blood at the corner of his mouth. The cabin, the gunfire, Blake's hatred, the city waiting behind them, all of it fell away under the heat of his hand against her jaw. Then Harper pulled back. Her breath shook. "I am not yours because I saved you." Cole's eyes searched hers. "No, I am not yours because you kept me warm. No, I am not yours because you can protect me." His voice lowered. "I know." She waited. He gave her the only answer that mattered. "You are yours. If you stand beside me, it is because you choose the place." The fire cracked behind them. Harper closed her eyes for half a second. Choice. The word felt unfamiliar in her chest. Wyatt stepped into the doorway. Snow on his shoulders, weapon lowered. His gaze moved from Cole to Harper and back again. If he understood what he had interrupted, he had the decency to pretend otherwise. "Road is compromised," Wyatt said. "But the Rourke crew lost men. They did not expect resistance." Cole's face settled back into command, though Harper could still feel the kiss on her lips. "How many alive, 3? Enough to talk." Cole glanced at Blake, still bound to the chair, pale and furious. Harper looked at the broken watch on the floor, the shattered window, the blood on Cole's bandage, the files hidden in her coat. Hiding had bought them hours. No more. She walked to the table, picked up her notebook, and opened to a clean page that was not clean at all, only less ruined than the others. Cole watched her. "What are you doing?" Harper picked up a pencil from beside the old radio. "Finding the part of their world that bullets cannot protect." Wyatt came closer. Cole stood across from her firelight, turning the blood on his shirt black. Harper wrote 3 names at the top of the page: Rourke, Blake, Chicago. Then she looked up at Cole Maddox and held his gaze without fear. "The storm gave them cover," she said. "Now we use it to bury them." Harper meant to use every inch of it. She stood over the cabin table with Cole's coat still around her shoulders, a pencil in her hand, and the fire throwing restless light over the ruined pages of her notebook. Outside, Wyatt's men moved through the trees, dragging the surviving Rourke attackers out of the snow. Somewhere near the pantry, Blake Maddox breathed hard through his nose, bound to an old wooden chair, blood drying beneath one nostril hatred, keeping him warmer than the fire ever could. Cole stood across from Harper with his shirt open at the collar and fresh blood staining the bandage at his ribs. He should have been sitting. He should have been letting someone check the wound again. Instead, he watched her draw lines between names, companies' dates, and payments, as if the fate of Chicago had narrowed to the movement of her hand. In a way it had. "The Rourkes do not win because they are stronger," Harper said. Cole's eyes stayed on the page. "They win because people look away." "No." She circled a name twice. "They win because people are paid to look away. Judges, union managers, port supervisors, hotel vendors, campaign treasurers, shell consultants. It is not a crime family. It is plumbing." Wyatt stepped closer, snow melting from his coat onto the floor. "Plumbing." Harper tapped the pencil against the table. "Money flows through pipes. You do not stop a flood by yelling at the water. You break the pipes." Cole's mouth curved faintly. "You always talk like this after being shot at. I was not shot. You were shot at. I prefer precision." Wyatt glanced at Cole. "She does that when she is right." Harper looked at him. "I do it all the time." Cole's gaze did not leave her. That should have made her nervous. 12 hours ago, his attention had felt like a blade under her chin. Now it felt like heat at her back. Still dangerous, still capable of burning, but no longer something she mistook for safety simply because it was warm. She drew 3 columns on the page: Rourke money, Rourke access, Rourke silence. Then she pulled the copied drive from her pocket and placed it beside the notebook. This drive can destroy them if it goes to the right places. Cole's voice stayed even. And destroy me if it goes to the wrong ones. Yes, the answer sat between them. Blunt, honest, necessary. Blake laughed from the corner, low and poisonous. Listen to her, Cole. She is deciding which criminals deserve sunlight. Harper did not look at him. I am deciding which fire burns first. Cole did. His stare cut across the cabin until Blake's smile thinned. You traded family for men who would have left you in pieces once they had the ports, Cole said. You do not get to comment on judgment. Blake leaned back against the chair. You still think this is about ports? Harper's pencil stilled. Cole noticed. What? She turned the notebook so he could see the list. The ports are money. The sanitation contracts are cover. The hotel hit was theater. But the Rourkes moved too publicly, too quickly. They were not only trying to kill you, they were trying to make every family respond emotionally at the same time. Wyatt said, start a war. Start a war loud enough to bury a quieter transfer of power. Harper flipped to another page. Look at the payments Aaron flagged. The largest transfers are not to shooters or vendors. They are to political action committees, legal defense funds, private security firms, and 2 emergency management contractors. Cole read the names. His face changed. Not much. Enough. You know them, Harper said. One of them handles city disaster logistics. Wyatt swore under his breath. Harper nodded. The storm was not their plan, but they adapted fast. Road closures reduced police mobility, hotel staff shortages, communications delays. They used emergency chaos to move men and money without drawing attention. Cole looked at the window where snow pressed against the broken frame like a white hand. They were not just taking my roots. They were taking the city while everyone watched the blood on the ballroom floor. Blake's expression shifted before he hit it. Harper saw. So you did know, she said. Blake said nothing. Cole took one step toward him. Harper caught his wrist. He looked down at her hand. She let go slowly, but her voice remained firm. Not yet. Cole's jaw tightened. He has answers, and he wants you angry enough to ask the wrong questions. For a moment, the old instinct rose in him. Command. Violence. The certainty that fear could open any locked door. Harper saw it pass through his eyes like weather over black water. Then he looked back at the page. Ask your question, he said. Harper turned to Blake. What did the Rourkes promise you beyond the chair? Blake stared at her. You think I confess because you ask with a pencil in your hand? No. I think you brag because you cannot stand being mistaken for a pawn. The room went quiet. Wyatt's eyebrows lifted slightly. Cole's gaze stayed on Blake. Blake's mouth twitched. There it was. Vanity. The soft underbelly of men who dressed greed as destiny. They needed a Maddox signature, Blake said at last. Not for the chair, for the transition. What transition? Emergency security contracts, port stabilization, private logistics. The city was going to panic after the compact. Someone had to look responsible enough to steady the lakefront. Cole's voice dropped. You. Me. Blake's eyes shone, not as a street boss, as a businessman, a public face, the man who kept Chicago moving while you and the old men died under chandeliers. Harper felt the final pieces lock into place. Blake had not only betrayed Cole, he had prepared to inherit the story. She wrote one word beneath his name. Narrative. Cole saw it. Harper said, "That is how we beat them." Wyatt frowned. With a story, with proof shaped correctly. Cole looked at her. Explain. Harper's pulse steadied. This was the ground she understood. Not guns, not blood oaths, not family codes that turned boys into weapons before they had a chance to be men. Information, timing, pressure, truth aimed with care. The Rourkes need confusion, she said. They need the families blaming each other. City officials pretending shock, and Blake presented as the calm successor. We remove the confusion. We release enough evidence to show the Rourkes bought the hotel staff, paid emergency contractors, and funneled money through port vendors. We send it to people who can act before it gets buried. Cole's eyes sharpened. The press and federal contacts. Not everything. Not your internal files. Not the pieces that hand your entire organization to the government. Enough to freeze Rourke money, terrify their political protection, and make every family head understand who really tried to start the war. Wyatt studied her. You still have press contacts. Harper smiled without humor. I have one who still owes me an apology. Cole said if she burned you once, she can burn you again. She did not burn me. She got scared. There is a difference. Fear betrays. So does blood. That silenced the room. Cole looked at Blake, then back at Harper. What do you need? The question landed softly, but something inside Harper shifted with it. He had not asked what she was planning. He had not told her what she was allowed to do. He had asked what she needed. Harper pulled the chair closer and sat before her legs could betray her. A secure phone, clean access to the files, Wyatt's people to verify the emergency contractor links, a quiet way back into Chicago, and 5 minutes alone with Nina Hart. Cole's face darkened. No. Harper looked up slowly. Excuse me. You do not go alone. I said 5 minutes. With a reporter who helped ruin you. With a reporter who knows when she is holding the biggest story in the city. She is a risk. So am I. Cole leaned over the table, palms flat against the wood. You are not walking unguarded into a meeting with someone we do not control. Harper held his stare. The cabin seemed to shrink around them. Wyatt became very interested in checking his weapon. Blake smiled again, delighted. Harper stood slower this time. You do not control me either. Cole's eyes burned. I know. Then say it like you know. A muscle jumped in his jaw. For several seconds, the only sound was the fire chewing through old wood. Cole straightened. You will not go alone, he said. But you choose who stands outside. Not perfect, but not a cage. Harper nodded once. Wyatt. Cole looked offended. Wyatt looked surprised. Blake laughed. Harper slipped the drive back into her pocket. No offense, Cole, but you make rooms nervous before anyone starts talking. Cole looked at Wyatt. Apparently you are comforting. Wyatt said, I hate this night. For the first time since the ballroom, Harper laughed. It did not last long. Nothing warm did. They left the cabin before sunrise. Wyatt's men cleared a route through the woods and transferred them into 2 dark SUVs waiting on a plowed service road. Blake rode in the second vehicle, bound, gagged, and watched by men who now looked at him like a disease that had entered the family blood. Cole rode beside Harper in the first. The sky over Wisconsin softened from black to bruised gray. Snow still fell, but weaker now, tired from its own violence. Harper pressed her forehead lightly to the cold window and watched pine trees give way to empty fields, then gas stations, then the first hard lines of the city. Chicago appeared slowly, not as the monster it had been the night before, as a wounded thing waking under ice. Sirens moved in the distance. News helicopters hovered near downtown despite the weather. Police lights flashed on bridges. The Blackstone Hotel had become a national headline before breakfast. Harper's stomach tightened. Her name would be close to that fire if they were not careful. Cole noticed. You can still walk away. She turned from the window. With what? A bus ticket and frostbite. With money. Papers. A place the Rourkes cannot reach. Do you offer that to every woman who breaks into your car? No. Then I feel special. You should feel warned. His voice was quiet enough that Wyatt, driving, pretended not to hear. Harper studied Cole's profile, the cut along his cheek from the ballroom glass, the exhaustion beneath his eyes, the rigid control he wrapped around pain like another suit. "You really would let me go," she said. His hand flexed once on his knee. "Yes, even with what I know. Especially with what you know." Harper looked down at her hands. They were clean now, mostly. Someone had bandaged the cut across her knuckles. Someone had found gloves. Someone had placed coffee in the cup holder beside her without asking whether she wanted it. Care could be another form of control. She had to remember that. But choice could exist inside danger if she held onto it with both hands. "I will decide after we end this," she said. Cole nodded. No argument. That unsettled her more than one would have. They changed cars twice before reaching a narrow brick building in the West Loop. It used to be a printing warehouse. Now it belonged to one of Cole's lawyers on paper, and nobody on any paperwork that mattered. Inside, phones waited. Laptops waited. Men moved around monitors, maps, and radio feeds. Harper washed her face in a small bathroom and stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was pale, bruised, and wearing borrowed clothes that cost more than her old monthly rent. But her eyes were clear. That mattered. She borrowed a phone from Wyatt and dialed from memory. Nina Hart answered on the fourth ring. Nina Harper said. Silence. Then a breath. "Harper, do not hang up. I thought you were dead. You and several other people. Where are you?" "Somewhere warm." A pause. Nina's voice lowered. "Are you safe?" Harper looked at her reflection. "No, but I am useful." Another silence, heavier this time. "Harper, I tried to call you after everything happened. My phone was dead. My apartment was ash. My career was on fire. The apology may have had trouble finding me." Nina inhaled shakily. "I am sorry." Harper closed her eyes. She had thought that would feel good to hear. It did not. It felt small against the size of the damage. "I need you to listen," Harper said. The Blackstone shooting was not a family dispute. It was a Rourke operation tied to port contracts, emergency logistics, and city officials. "I have documents. I have transfer records. I have names." Nina's voice changed. The reporter woke inside her. "How fast can I see them?" "Fast. But you do not publish raw. You verify with the federal contact I send you, you protect my source trail, and you do not use my name." "Harper, if you use my name, people die." Nina went quiet. Then understood. Harper gave her the address of a closed coffee shop 2 blocks away, one with a back room and no working cameras, because Harper had once investigated the owner's insurance fraud and remembered details the way some people remembered birthdays. When she stepped out of the bathroom, Cole was waiting by the hall, not blocking her, waiting. "Wyatt goes in with me," Harper said. Cole nodded. "You stay here." His expression made clear he hated every syllable. "Yes." She moved past him. His voice stopped her. "Harper." She turned. He looked like he had too many things to say and trusted none of them. "Come back." It was not an order. That made it dangerous. Harper held his gaze. "I planned to." The coffee shop smelled of stale grounds and old sugar. Nina Hart sat in the back room with her laptop open and fear badly hidden beneath professional focus. She stood when Harper entered. For one strange second, they were back in the Herald newsroom. 2 women with deadline coffee and ink on their fingers arguing over headline verbs. Then Nina saw the bruise on Harper's jaw. Her face crumpled. Harper lifted a hand. "Do not." Nina sat. Wyatt remained near the door, silent and large enough to discourage betrayal. Harper placed the drive on the table. You get one copy. You open only the folder marked Civic Pipeline. Nothing else. Nina looked at the drive. What is in the rest? Things you are safer not knowing. That sounds like obstruction. That sounds like survival. Nina met her eyes. Are you working with Cole Maddox? Harper did not blink. I am working against the people who tried to kill me. That is not an answer. It is the only one you can print around. Nina accepted that with the weary look of a reporter who knew truth often arrived dressed in legal danger. She opened the files. As she read, color drained from her face. My God. No. Men. Nina scrolled. Payment records. Contractor names. Emergency route access. Hotel staffing changes. Political donations. Security subcontractors. The Rourke signatures hidden behind clean corporate language. Harper watched comprehension become fear, then outrage. Good. Outrage still had uses. Nina whispered, This is bigger than the Blackstone. Yes. You have to come in. Tell this yourself. No. Harper, this clears your name. Harper felt the old hunger pull at her. Her byline restored, her reputation repaired. The world knowing she had not lied. She wanted it so badly her throat hurt, but she saw Aaron Vale's tired eyes. The dead source. The burned apartment. Cole at the ballroom with a gun aimed at his back. Wyatt choosing to believe her with minutes left. Truth without timing was just another weapon dropped in the wrong hands. Not yet, Harper said. Nina looked up. Then when printing my name does not put a target on every person who ever helped me. Nina nodded slowly. I will call Marcus Bell, she said. He moved from Justice to the federal task force last year. He hates the Rourkes. Send him the contractor files first. Make the money move. Freeze them before they know where the leak came from. Nina almost smiled. There she is. Harper stood. No, she is colder now. Nina looked as if she might cry again. This time, Harper let the silence hold it. Then she left. By noon, the city began to turn. Not publicly at first. Power rarely screamed when it panicked. It made calls. It canceled meetings. It deleted messages too late. It moved money and found accounts already frozen. It summoned lawyers who asked questions no one wanted to answer. At the West Loop safe house, screens filled with breaking news banners. Federal investigators raid offices tied to Rourke-linked contractors. Emergency logistics firm under scrutiny after Blackstone shooting. Port Authority vendor records seized. City council aide resigns amid corruption probe. Cole watched from the far end of the room. His men watched him. Harper watched the room. That was the difference between them. Cole saw power move through loyalty and fear. Harper saw it move through reaction. Who whispered? Who sweated? Who checked phones? Who looked relieved for the wrong reason? Wyatt approached her with a tablet. 3 Rourke lieutenants are trying to leave the city. One was picked up by federal agents at Midway. Good, Harper said. They are cutting weight. Cole came closer. Rourke himself. Quiet, Wyatt said. Too quiet. Harper looked at the map on the main screen. He needs a new narrative. Cole's eyes went to hers. Blame Blake, she said. Claim Blake hired the shooters to overthrow you and the Rourkes were framed through vendor records. If he can get one family head to believe it, the city splits again. Wyatt nodded. We intercepted a message asking for a sit-down, with whom Cole asked. Wyatt looked at him. You. The room shifted. Cole read the message. Then he smiled. It was not pleasant. Navy Pier Storage House. Sunset. Wyatt said, Trap. Obviously. Harper stepped beside him. Then we bring a better one. Cole looked down at her. This time, he did not say no. The storage house near Navy Pier had once held restaurant supplies for tourist boats. In winter, it became a hollow brick shell smelling of lake water rust and old cardboard. Snow blew across the empty lot in long silver sheets. The lake beyond was black and restless. Cole arrived with 6 men, not an army. Enough to look cautious. Not enough to look afraid. Harper watched from a control room above the warehouse floor with Wyatt beside her and a headset tucked beneath her hair. Below, Blake sat bound to a metal chair beneath a hanging lamp cleaned up just enough to look alive and ruined. His eyes burned with humiliation. Cole stood several feet away, hands relaxed, gun hidden, but present in every line of his body. Harper's voice came through his earpiece. 2 men on the south catwalk, one behind the forklift, one near the loading door pretending to smoke. Cole did not look up. Seen. You did not see the one behind the forklift. I saw his shoes. Despite herself, Harper smiled. The large bay door groaned open. Patrick Rourke entered with 4 men and a lawyer. The lawyer was the detail Harper noticed first. Criminals brought guns to threats. Men building new empires brought legal cover. Rourke was in his 50s, broad-shouldered, silver-haired, and handsome in the polished way of men who had learned to make violence look like leadership. He looked at Blake first, then Cole. "Your cousin looks uncomfortable," Cole said. "He betrayed me. Discomfort is generous." Rourke smiled. "Family disputes are tragic." Harper watched his men fan out. "Cole," she said softly. "Your left. The smoker is moving." Cole shifted 1 step without breaking eye contact with Rourke. Rourke noticed. So did Harper. He was measuring Cole's information in real time. "Good. Let him feel watched." Rourke said last night got out of hand. Cole's voice was calm. "You sent shooters into a room full of bosses. I sent no one. Then you have terrible luck with your vendors." The lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Rourke is here to prevent further misunderstanding between organizations." Cole looked at him. "And you are here to make crime sound like paperwork." Harper saw the lawyer's eyes flick to the rafters. Nervous. She whispered, "Lawyer knows about the catwalk team." Wyatt spoke into a second channel. Marked. Rourke folded his hands in front of him. "The city is unstable. The police are embarrassed. Federal people are excited. Reporters are hungry. Someone has to steady the lakefront before everyone loses money." Someone like Blake Cole said. Blake lifted his head. Rourke's smile thinned. There it was. Cole took a step toward him. "You were going to put him in front of cameras with clean hands and a tragic speech." Rourke sighed. "You always were smarter than your father." Cole's face did not change, but Harper heard the hit land. Rourke continued. "Your father understood fear. You understand balance. Balance is delicate. Men like me prefer weight." Harper scanned the screens showing exterior cameras. A black SUV had arrived outside the east door. 2 more men exiting. Too late to be part of the first formation. Cole, east door. 2 incoming. "I have them. No, they are not looking at you. They are looking at Blake." Cole's eyes moved at last. Blake saw the shift. So did Rourke. Blake started to laugh sharp and panicked. "They are here to kill me." Rourke's face remained pleasant. "You were always a liability once you failed." The east door opened. Wyatt's team moved first. 2 suppressed shots. 2 Rourke men dropped before they crossed the threshold. At the same moment, Cole's men took the catwalk shooters. The warehouse erupted, but not into chaos. Into controlled violence. Rourke's lawyer dropped to the floor, shouting that he was unarmed. Rourke reached for his gun. Cole already had his drawn. "Do not." Rourke froze. Harper watched from above, pulse-steady hands cold. Then a screen on her left flashed. Breaking news. Nina had published. Not everything. Enough. The headline moved across every local channel at once. Federal raids target companies tied to Rourke network after Blackstone attack. Phones began buzzing below. Rourke's men heard them. One looked down. Another cursed. The balance of the room changed. Not because guns had moved, but because certainty had. Rourke no longer looked like the future. He looked expensive and cornered. Cole saw it too. "You needed silence," Cole said. "You should have bought better locks." Rourke looked toward the control room. For a second his eyes found the glass. Found Harper. "You," he said. Cole stepped into his line of sight. "No." The word was quiet. Absolute. "She is not a thing you look at when I am speaking." Harper's breath caught before she could stop it. Rourke smiled faintly. "That is how kings die, Maddox. They put women between themselves and judgment." Cole answered no. They die when they mistake women for weakness. Wyatt's men took Rourke's remaining guards down one by one. Outside, sirens grew louder. Federal agents bought time by Nina's release and pointed in the right direction by Harper's evidence closed around the pier. Rourke looked at Cole with something like admiration. "You would let the government take me?" Cole said. "I would let wolves take you if it kept my city from bleeding for your ambition." Blake suddenly moved. Somehow he had worked one hand partly free. He lunged toward a fallen gun near the chair. Harper saw it on the monitor. "Blake," she shouted into Cole's earpiece. Cole turned. Too far. Too late. Harper ran. Wyatt grabbed for her, but she was already out the control room door, down the metal stairs, into the warehouse noise with her heart hammering in her ears. Blake's fingers closed around the gun. Harper reached him first. She kicked it away with everything she had. Blake caught her by the wrist and yanked her hard enough to pull her off balance. Pain flashed through her shoulder. He dragged her in front of him, one arm locking across her throat, a small blade suddenly pressed beneath her jaw. The warehouse froze. Cole turned slowly. His face emptied. That was when Harper understood how truly dangerous he was. Not when he was angry, when he stopped being anything else. Blake breathed against her ear. "I told you. This is how they kill kings." Harper kept her eyes on Cole. Not pleading, not panicked, thinking. Blake's grip was strong, but his left leg favored the injury from the hotel. His breathing was too fast. His blade hand shook. Cole saw her seeing it. His gun remained aimed at the floor. "Let her go," he said. Blake laughed. "Now you ask." "This is between us. It was always between us. She just made you forget." Harper rasped. "You talk too much." Blake's grip tightened. "Careful." "No," she whispered. "You be careful." She drove her heel down onto his injured foot and threw her head back into his face. Pain exploded through her skull. Blake shouted. The blade nicked her skin hot and sharp, but his hold loosened. Cole moved. By the time Harper stumbled forward, Cole had Blake on the floor with one knee in his chest and a gun beneath his chin. No one breathed. Blake stared up at him, bleeding again, broken open by fear at last. "Do it," Blake whispered. "Prove me right." Cole's finger rested on the trigger. Harper touched the cut at her throat. Her fingers came away red. She stepped closer. "Cole." His eyes did not leave Blake. "He would have killed you." "Yes." "He would still kill you." "Yes." Blake smiled through blood. Harper knelt beside Cole, close enough that only he could hear. "If you kill him here in front of federal agents, Rourke still gets a piece of the story. Not the one he wanted, but enough. The violent mafia boss executes his cousin while the city burns. That becomes the headline." Cole's breathing was slow. Too slow. Harper placed her hand over his on the gun. "He does not deserve mercy," she said, "but you deserve control." Something moved behind Cole's eyes. The man in him fought the boss. The boy betrayed by blood fought them both. Then Cole lifted the gun away. Wyatt moved in instantly, dragging Blake from beneath him and securing both hands. Blake screamed then, not in pain, in failure. Federal agents flooded the warehouse seconds later. Cole stood and pulled Harper behind him, not hiding her, only placing himself between her and the first wave of weapons, because instinct did not vanish, just because she had asked for choice. A man in a federal jacket shouted orders. Wyatt stepped forward with legal paperwork already in hand. Cole leaned toward Harper without looking away from the agents. "You are bleeding." She touched her throat again. "It is shallow. I decide what is shallow." She looked at him. Even then, with sirens outside and guns raised and their enemies collapsing around them, he almost smiled. Almost. Rourke was taken alive. His lawyer shouted names, Harper memorized for later. Blake was carried out, restrained, no longer polished, no longer charming, no longer able to stand near power and call it his own. When he passed Harper, his eyes held pure hatred. She felt nothing. That surprised her. Maybe she was too tired. Maybe survival had burned away the space where fear used to sit. By nightfall, Chicago knew enough to be afraid. By midnight, 3 Rourke accounts were frozen. 2 city officials had resigned. 1 judge had checked into a hospital for chest pains that sounded suspiciously like panic, and the Chicago Herald had begun quietly removing the old article about Harper's termination from its website. Nina texted once. "You were right. I am sorry. Tell me when I can print your name." Harper read it twice. Then she put the phone down. Cole found her in the underground garage just before dawn. The same garage where she had woken as a trespasser. The same polished concrete. The same line of cars. The same black SUV cleaned of snow repaired from the night before engine off and waiting. Only Harper was different. She stood near the rear passenger door, wearing her own coat now. Wyatt had found it in the cabin, and someone had repaired the lining with neat stitches that were nothing like her desperate dental floss work. The flash drive was no longer hidden there. It rested in a safe upstairs, copied, encrypted, and dangerous enough to keep powerful men polite. Cole approached without guards. That mattered. He carried an envelope in one hand. Harper looked at it. "That looks expensive." "It is. Threat or gift choice." He handed it to her. Inside were documents, cash, a new identity, a bank card, a key, and a train ticket to Seattle under a name that was not hers. Harper stared at the ticket. The silence stretched. Cole said, "There is an apartment. Clean record. No connection to me. Enough money to start over. If you want your name back later, my lawyers can help. If you do not, no one will find you." Her throat tightened. "You planned this when, after the cabin. Before you knew if I would stay." "Yes." She looked up at him. The garage lights softened the hard lines of his face. He looked tired, wounded, still dangerous, still beautiful in the way a locked door could be beautiful if it stood between you and a storm. "You are letting me go," she said. "Yes." "With what I know." "Yes, even if I use it against you." His eyes held hers. "If you do, I probably earned it." That almost broke something in her. Harper looked back at the SUV. She remembered crawling into the rear footwell too cold to feel shame. She remembered the first rush of heat, the smell of leather, the man's voice talking about traitors and the girl from the Herald. She remembered waking on the floor of this garage with a gun aimed at her chest. She walked to the rear door and touched the handle. This was the first warm place I found after everyone else closed their doors. Cole said nothing. She turned back. But warmth is not freedom. No. And protection is not the same as trust. No. And being wanted by a dangerous man does not make him safe. His mouth curved faintly. No. Harper studied him. You are agreeing too much. It is unsettling. I can stop. Please do not. He stepped closer but left space between them. Always space now, she noticed. She hated how much she noticed. What do you want, Harper? The question moved through her slowly. No one had asked her that in weeks. People had asked what she knew, what she could prove, what she needed to confess, what she had done wrong, what she could trade, not what she wanted. She looked at the envelope again. Seattle. A clean life. Rain instead of snow. A job under another name. A window that did not face an alley. Groceries bought without counting coins. No Cole Maddox, no Rourkes, no Blake, no armed guards outside beautiful rooms. Safety, maybe. Silence, certainly. Then she thought of Nina waiting to print her name. The files not yet unpacked. The city still rotting in places sunlight had not reached. The way Cole had asked what she needed. The way he had lowered the gun when she touched his hand. The way he had opened a door and not stood in front of it. I want my work back, she said. Cole listened. I want access to the records you hide from everyone else. Not all of them. Enough to know when men like Rourke are using the city as a body to feed on. Done. I want protection for sources. Real protection. Not intimidation dressed up as help. Done. I want my own money. Already in the envelope. I want my own exits. He nodded. Done. I want the truth when I ask for it. Cole's eyes darkened slightly. That one will be harder. I did not ask for easy. No, he said. You never do. Harper stepped closer. And I do not want to be your prisoner, your secret, your charity, or your weakness. You are none of those. What am I? Cole looked at her for a long moment. When he answered, his voice was quiet. The woman who walked into my war half frozen and changed the way I fight it. Harper's breath caught. He opened the front passenger door of the SUV. Not the back. Not the place where she had hidden. The front. The choice sat there in black leather in silence. Harper looked at the envelope one last time. Then she placed it on the hood. I am keeping the bank card. Cole almost smiled. Practical. I am keeping the apartment key too. Also practical. And the ticket. His face changed just slightly. Harper saw the flicker of pain and respected him more because he did not hide it fast enough. She stepped closer. Not because I am leaving today. Because I need to know I can. Cole held her gaze. Yes. Only then did Harper get into the passenger seat. Cole closed the door gently. A moment later he slid behind the wheel. The engine started with a low, familiar hum. Heat flowed through the vents, warm against Harper's hands. For a while, neither of them spoke. The garage door began to rise. Beyond it, Chicago waited beneath the pale light of morning. Snow melted from rooftops. Water ran along curbs in silver streams. The city looked bruised, but alive. Cole looked at the road ahead. You broke into my car during a blizzard. Harper watched the thawing city through the windshield. You refused to let me walk away. You can still walk away. I know. That was why she stayed. The SUV rolled out of the garage and into Chicago. This time, Harper did not hide on the floor. She sat upright in the front seat, a folder of secrets in her lap, a cut at her throat, a healing bruise on her jaw, and the steady knowledge that survival had not made her smaller. The storm had stripped her down to breathbone and will. The Mafia had tried to name her asset, prisoner, threat, and prize. Cole Maddox had offered her a cage before he learned how to offer a door. Harper Lane chose neither cage nor escape. She chose the road with her eyes open. Beside her, Cole drove into the waking city, and for the first time since the snow began to fall, Harper was not waiting for someone else to save her. She had saved herself. Then she had saved him. Now Chicago would learn what a woman could become after the cold failed to kill her.